This is a bastard of a corner. Adam's off with a limited slip diff, scrabbling away, traction control light on. Hello guys, and welcome to this Volks Wizard video, and it's a very special video for two reasons. Firstly, because I get to drive a Golf GTI TCR, and secondly, because I'm at an amazing location. This is at Millbrook Proving Ground. It's in Bedfordshire, and it used to be owned by General Motors. It's just the craziest car testing place in the world. It's normally used for test driving prototypes. Many manufacturers come here. It's very secretive. You're not normally allowed to film or take photos, but today we are, because it's been taken over by the Society of Motor Manufacturers and Traders, the SMMT, and basically they've got together with all the manufacturers, and they've all got their own stands that you can probably see up there. And I, as a sort of wannabe journalist, can just go up to them and say, give me the keys to that car. They'll book me in and I can go and drive it on the test tracks here. So you've got the high-speed bowl, which we can do up to 100 miles an hour on today, and we've got the Alpine handling course, or I think it's called the Hill Route today. They've changed the name of it a bit for various reasons, but that's an incredible technical test of a car, and I'm going to drive the TCR onto it shortly, so don't switch off now because this is going to be a great video. Anyway, before we do that, let's have a walk around the car, because I've wanted to get a closer look at one of these for a year since it was announced at Worthersee. So this car's pure grey. It's got a few options, primarily the very sort of Marmite sticker pack on it, which is about 555 quid. I actually quite like it on this car, because it's sort of grey. On the white car it's probably a bit too stand out. We've got the panoramic roof, which is about £1,000. The most important option though at 2,900 quid. Excuse me if I just check the spec sheet, because it's very hard to remember all this stuff. Okay, Gti Tcr Performance Pack. So we get the 19-inch wheels, which in this case are Pretorias. They should normally come with Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tyres, but Volkswagen press office have changed them to P0s because the car went to the original press launch in Wales about a month ago, and it snowed. So if you watched Henry Catchpole's video, you see they didn't have brilliant weather, which for Cup 2s would have been a bit irresponsible. You also get the de-restricted top speed to 164 miles an hour, and you get lowered sport suspension 20 millimeters lower, and you get dynamic chassis control as well, so you can switch modes from sport, comfort and normal. This car's also got rear tinted glass from the B pillars backwards, so it's a little bit darker than normal. That's 100 quid, which with this kind of colour looks really good. It's also got the rear side airbags. Well, you probably don't want to see those, so but total price of this car is 41,289, which is, did I read that right? Yeah, that's a lot of money. Before we have a look inside, let's just have a look at the details on the outside. So we've got the sticker pack, we've got different sills. They're actually not body coloured. There's this glossy black, and they flare at on the left and the right, and they go up a bit higher than the standard car as well, so they definitely give it a bit more presence. We've got the GTI Clubsport S brakes. So these have been used on the Golf R Performance Pack, not on the GTI Performance Pack. So they're alloy bell steel disc, which in theory makes them less prone to fade. That's a really nice touch, because you couldn't actually get that on the Edition 40. That's one way this model has evolved from the Edition 40. I think the front end is pretty similar. This splitter looks a bit beefier down here, but this bit looks identical. Got this matte sort of finish to the mirrors, and there's the pan roof. So you can actually operate the blind manually, which means you can have the roof open but have the blind shut, which lets some of the exhaust noise in but doesn't let the wind in. That's quite a nice touch. A lot of cars have got electronic blinds which don't allow you to do that. The spoiler is a little bit beefier with this lip stuck onto it, so that's quite nice. That's the colour I'd go for. I did pretty much order one of these, but I changed my mind at the last minute. But looking at this now, I'm thinking, did I do the right thing? Well, we'll find out when I go and drive it. Okay, let's have a look inside. So we've got a different steering wheel to normal. It's got perforations on it. It's got a dead ahead marker. I think in a lot of respects, so it's pretty standard GTI, this leather is. It's just those bits. So yeah, it's not any different. I haven't got Alcantara, which is a bit of a shame. And these are the standard seats. You can't get buckets, which is a bit strange for a car with racing car aspirations, that you can't get actually sporty seats like you could on the Edition 40. That's a bit of a backward step, but VW do some very odd things. In many respects, it's just standard Mark 7.5, which is pretty decent, really. We've got the digital dash, we've got the big gesture control navigation infotainment screen. I think the gear knob might be slightly different with that red bit, but I can't say for sure. But yeah, it's all good stuff. We'll have a quick look under the bonnet. I'm not sure there's an awful lot of point. Yeah, there we go. So standard E888 engine, not really an awful lot to show you, but this is 290 horsepower. So it is not the most horsepower of any GTI, as some videos have said. It's actually less than the Clubsport S, which was 310 PS. This is 290 PS, so it's less than that. The Edition 40 was 265 or 290 on overboost. Well, this is 290 all the time, so that's definitely better, because the overboost thing was a bit silly really, wasn't it? So yep, anyway, without any further ado, I think it's time we go and drive this Golf GTI TCR. Well, actually not this one, we're going to go and drive the white one on Millbrook's incredible hill route. Okay guys, here we are behind the wheel of the Golf GTI TCR, and it's my first drive of the car. So basically you can drive any car you want, you can drive it on the multiple routes around here. It's absolutely amazing, but naturally I've focused on driving this car because I haven't driven it yet, and what a brilliant place to do it. It's almost like being on a track, but actually the hill course, which we're going to do first, it's probably even better because it's really technical. Now just make sure we're in the right mode. So we're in sport. This car's got adaptive dampers, and it's actually a bit firm in those, I think. We'll try normal for now, I think. It's got the performance pack, so it's got the Reifnitz wheels and the DCC suspension and the top speed limiter, which you could probably do without even here because we can only go up to 100 miles an hour. But we are going to do 100 miles an hour on the bowl, so it should be a very good test. I've got Adam Binney from Parker's in front of me driving another TCR. I just wanted somebody to follow to make the camera footage look a bit more exciting, although there's so many brilliant cars, you can't really go too far wrong. You could be behind a 205 GTI or a R8 or an Aston Martin. It's an incredible place. I'm very lucky to be here, so thank you to Volkswagen UK for getting me in today. It's like a dream come true. And there's an original Quattro which I'm hopefully going to drive later. Right then, so we've only got automatic, we've got 290 horsepower, and yeah, what a car. Okay, I know the manual Clubsport S is a bit of a legend in the making, but this seems to be a bit more usable, and yet most of the dynamics are there of the Clubsport S. So, especially when you've got the performance pack. So Adam's off, I'm caught napping. So I've only got a 55 mile an hour limit on here, but trust me, this is like the most incredible bit of road you'll ever come across, and there are some bloody hairy corners on it. One of them you have to take at 20 miles an hour. This car's pretty heavily loaded. It's got panoramic sunroof, which I wouldn't necessarily want on a car like this because it ruins the weight balance, and we've got Dyne audio as well. You can feel it's very stiffly bushed, I'd say, maybe not sprung, but there's definitely a lot of harshness coming through from the bushes when you're going over some imperfections, which there are on here for testing like this. This is a 20 mile an hour corner. Sensibly there's somebody to warn us on that. And we've got a control van in front of us, so it's going to slow us down a bit, but there'll be the opportunity to overtake soon, and we can do it again and again anyway, so it's no problem. Okay, so we can overtake now. Adam's off, got an Alpha Giulia in front of us. So you might have seen this course on TV, Top Gear have used it a lot. I think in Quantum of Solace, was it the Bond film? James Bond crashed his Aston Martin on here. Well, hopefully we won't be following in his footsteps. I drove an R8 V10 Performance Spider on here earlier, and it was a bit of a handful, to be honest. This car is much more enjoyable on this kind of road, as you're probably not surprised to find out. So So yeah, brakes feel mighty. I mean, they're going to get a battering right now, and they've had a battering all day, and they still feel really nice, really communicative. You can really feel them working. Yes, that's lovely. Wow, the gradients is just like the best bits of the Nürburgring. This is a nice tricky corner as well, where they were filming on earlier. Yellow flag to warn us. Really horrible sort of crest there into a barrier. It's just, it'd be highly dangerous on a public road. Bit of weaving then over the bumps. It's not smooth at all, this, but we're doing all right. Whoa, people do jump there, but you'd have to get really on the brakes early to not go into this barrier. Into that corner, it feels lovely. I mean, you know, Mark 7 Golf is pretty incredible anyway, really. It's a really good driving car. With DCC, it's even better, I think. Now, what mode are we in? So we're in normal mode. It's not soft by any means, but I just think on that surface it's probably a bit too hard to have it in dynamic, or sport in this car. Okay, well, now we're going for the high-speed bowl. So this is probably one of the fastest bits of road in the UK. You can do about 160 with your hands off the wheel, apparently. We're only allowed to do about 100 miles an hour today, but that's still much more than we could do on the road, and it's all perfectly legal. So if the GoPro wants to catch the speedometer, it can. I'm following Adam again. He's just left a bit of a number 11 there. Traction control flickered on. So Adam's in the grey TCR. I think they're pretty similar spec, and if we get into this lane, the third lane, we can do 100 now, or is it the fourth lane? But we're limited at 100, we're doing 83 now, and the car feels good. So because you've got DCC, the suspension's reading what we're doing, and it's adapting to suit, so it's probably a bit confused that we go around the corner at a constant 100 miles an hour. Yeah, it feels good. Into 7th gear now. Yeah, actually we're doing dead on 100, 3 figures. It's really quiet. You could max this out in Germany, I imagine, no problem. They've definitely gone for control rather than comfort in the suspension, even in normal mode, but I think that's perfectly justified. It's really good, but I just can't believe how quiet it is. If we pop it into something dynamic, see if so we'll try sport. So we've firmed up a bit now, it's not feeling too composed. And we're coming off the bowls. Alright, but I think we're going to go for another bit on the Alpine, the hill course, because that's a lot more fun. So yeah, Millbrook is an amazing place. 5th Gear used to film here a lot. They haven't been for a while apparently, and it's used for the development of cars. It was actually owned by General Motors until maybe 20 years ago, so they used it for proving, and it's an amazing place. You still get the odd, well, they do a lot of testing here, and when you come here normally you can't film anything, so when 5th Gear film, they have a little corner, but your camera phone is covered up by the security guard, and yeah, it's top secret. Although apparently they have a distinct lack of charging points, which is a bit ominous considering the number of electric cars we're going to have on the road soon. But yeah, I've been very, very lucky with the weather, because it's not the kind of place where you want to come when it's wet, particularly on that hill course. So we're going to go and do it again. Again, I'm following Adam. You might have a little play with the modes before we get there, so pop it into individual. What we want it is to be sort of as raucous as possible, but not too hard. So let's pop that into normal, into the chassis, and then Adam's off. I think let's pop it into, let's try it in sport then. So we'll leave individual for now. So this is the most dynamic mode. Got an R8 behind me, got Adam Binney in front of me. yeah, corners really flat, really lovely. Steering feel, well, as modern cars go, it's nice. I missed the Alcantara off my Clubsport S because that always set the tone quite nicely. Noise-wise, there's definitely a bit of fakery going on. It seems to be a little bit more toned down than I remember it in earlier cars. This is a bastard of a corner. Adam's off with a limited slip diff, scrabbling away, traction control light on. So yeah, a manual gearbox is handy for engagement, but right now, being able to select these gears without having to take my hands off the steering wheel is definitely a bonus. Oh, I'm having so much fun. They only give us 15-minute slots in this car to make everybody have a go, able to have a go, and it's perfectly understandable, but my word, I could drive this all day long around here. Lovely bit of camber there. Okay guys, well, here we are behind the wheel of the Hyundai i30N hatchback, and I feel like I'm having a bit of an affair. This is my mistress. I've been intrigued by this car since I was at the Ring in October 2017, and they were doing the customers handover. They had a special event for all the German customers. If they wanted to, they could collect their car from the Ring and meet the technical people behind it and so on. So the place was actually heaving with them, and ever since then, that was what, 18 months ago, the reviews have been absolutely mega. So I thought I can't miss the opportunity to go and drive one here, and I'm going to drive it on the handling course. We've just been in the Golf GTI TCR, see if it can hold a candle to that. Now straight away, two differences are, one, it's a manual gearbox, which, having really enjoyed the paddles on that course, I think it might hobble me a bit, but we'll see, because it's such a technical course. Also, the plastics in here are slightly disappointing. The seats are better than in the German cars because they had cloth. We've got some nice Alcantara here, but yeah, the plastics are a bit polo, really. Yeah, the gauges look a bit dated, particularly after the digital dashboard of the Golf. The sticky up nav screen looks a bit of an afterthought. Climate control buttons, yeah, it all looks a bit Far Eastern, which it is, but we don't care about that, do we? We want to see how it drives, so let's go. We're in sport mode. There is an N mode, but it relinquishes the traction control, which I don't think is a particularly good idea for my first drive of this car on that hill course, because it is a bit of a gnarly route. Okay guys, so we're just about to go on the hill course in the Hyundai i30N, and got Honda Civic Type R in front of us. It's not a race though, but it's just nice to follow something a bit interesting. So keep it in the right hand lane here, avoid the speed bumps, because this car is pretty firm. It's got a pretty trick number on it, FK53 CTR. A bit of a nasty corner here, so we've got a lady with the yellow flag, and she's always warning us because it is a very tricky corner. Maybe the professionals that drive this during the normal working day are used to it, but for us wannabe journalists, it's a very dangerous one. So yeah, hooked up really well and gave it the power. It's a very different car to drive to the Golf GTI. It doesn't seem to have anything like the mid-range urgency of that Golf, which was just always pushing you back in your seat. This seems a little bit peaky, but it's very hard to extend it to its max on this track because it's just so technical. But this is an amazing, amazing circuit, and I'm so privileged to be here today. I'll pop it into second for this one. The Honda's off, and so are we. I don't doubt that car is much quicker, but it can't really use its power on this track. I'll keep it in third. Just felt slightly unsteady then, but it was all right. Yeah, this is good fun. I mean, this is Hyundai's first effort, and it is remarkably good. If I was buying one, really for me, just have something nice to live with that's, you know, inside when you get into it, it doesn't feel like a car that's from a couple of classes down would be quite important for me, and the dynamics are important, but I don't think it's massively better than the Golf, and the price isn't that much cheaper. You get a TCR for 29 grand, I think, thanks to Joe Knight at TL Derby Burton-on-Trent, and that brings it into i30N territory, and I think it's a far better car for me anyway. I think it'll probably hold its value better as well. But this is a really impressive car, but then so is the Golf GTI. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that impromptu little race with the Honda Civic Type R. We're not really racing, but it's just interesting having something in front of us. And yeah, I mean, it's a great car, the i30N, but so is the Golf GTI TCR. The Mark 7 was a brilliant platform. Every improvement to that car has made the Golf GTI TCR a really, really impressive package. And yeah, it would definitely be my choice. I know I am biased, but this might be dynamically better according to some of the reviews. It might be a little bit cheaper, but inside it really, they've got a lot to learn. This is like maybe Skoda, maybe not even Seat levels of quality in here. So yeah, a good effort, but Golf GTI TCR for the win. Did I do the right thing cancelling my order? Well, I think I did. It's not really a Golf GTI Clubsport S replacement. It's a brilliant replacement for the Edition 40, although you can't get a manual gearbox, so that's a bit of an issue if you want that, but I don't really think it is. I think it's a brilliant everyday usable road car, but that's not something I need. I want something that's a bit special for weekends. But if you're lucky enough to be able to justify this kind of car as a daily car, you will not be disappointed, because it's 90% of the Clubsport S dynamically, but it's a hell of a lot more practical with back seats and loads of other bits that make it just easier to live with. Anyway, before we go, let me give you a tour of this place. So this is Millbrook, this is the SMMT Media Day, and it's an incredible place. It doesn't really turn up much on YouTube, but it ought to really, because it's just crazy. So basically all the manufacturers get together, bring all their cars here, and if you're a member of the press or media, you can get to drive whatever you want. There might be a bit of a queue, but you could drive an R8. I just drove an R8, ran the handling course. It was amazing. I drove a Quattro as well, so there are actually older cars here as well, which you'd never really get the opportunity to drive. R8s are great, but there are factories chucking them out, you know, 10 every hour in Germany, while something like an Quattro, that's very special. So we've got Porsche. I think you could book a passenger ride in that 911 there. Loads of BMWs, some of them with really weird grills. Got Lexus, Audi e-tron R8, that's what they're doing. They're doing two cars at Audi. And we've got Honda, this little Honda Civic, I think. So if you ever watched the Police Academy movies, you'll remember that Hightower drove this from the back seat. What a cool car. So 1976, a tuned Civic Type R, which you'll probably see in the Golf GTI TCR video. We've got some Fords here which I haven't done anything with today. Mitsubishi, Toyota, and we've got Hyundai, which I probably ought to keep my distance from, because they asked me to come back and drive the car again when it was in the different mode, because in sport mode it was a little bit too not as hardcore as it could be, but I'll have to save that for another day. But yeah, I enjoy the i30N. It's definitely a challenger for the Golfs. It just needs maybe a bit more money spending on the interior, but dynamically it was really good. And you can actually drive this highly tuned 205 GTI. Got Kia, SsangYong, Dacia, Mercedes are over there, Renault. And we've got Vauxhall. So I saw this GTE driving down the road when I was just outside the proving ground, and I couldn't believe I'd seen it, because this takes me back to the 80s. I had a girlfriend whose dad had one of those in black. What an incredible car. Just have a quick look inside. Check that out. Oh, it's got that 70s, 80s smell. That is just incredible. Pop-up sunroof. Yeah, probably not interested in the new stuff. Some Maseratis, but what would you rather have, that or that? It was a bit of a mistake not actually driving anything from Seat today, but I just ran out of time. So we've got the Tcr Cupra, we've got the Leon Cupra R. So this is one I've already made a video on, and yeah, there are only 20, I think 24 came to the country. That'd be quite a special drive, that, actually, but I've already driven it, you've already seen the video, so it wouldn't have really taken us anywhere new. And then we've got these lovely Renaults, which again, another car I would like to drive, but there's just not enough time. And as you can see, it's like being a kid in a candy store. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this Volks Wizard video. If you have, please give it a thumbs up. Please comment, please share, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one soon.